Hi, this video is for the Gospel Church Youth called 180, and I'm making this video for two reasons. One is to remind you what we had done last week, and second, to remind you of the homework you're supposed to do this week so that we'll be ready for next week. I'm sorry we won't be meeting this Saturday evening for the youth meeting, but I'm hoping that this video can be like a reminder of what we did, and also the reminder that you should be doing your homework so that next week I can ask you, did you do your homework? And you can say, no, I didn't. Okay. So what did we do last week? Last week was our first youth meeting for 2024. And if you remember, I started with an introduction, like some introductory points. And the first introductory point was, we should keep meeting. I said that meeting as a community, while we meet in church, it's important for us to keep meeting face to face, even in a small group. This is because as a youth, I know we have so much to do and we are all so busy. Everyone's so busy. But in a few more months or a few more years, you are all going to be going into having different lives. You may not have this youth group ever again. So till that time, let's make the most of it. Let's enjoy our fellowship. Let's have fun, but also let's support one another. Let's be there for one another. And that's what I was committing to. I said, yes, this year, let's make it a point to keep meeting. So yes, every Saturday, 6:30, we will keep meeting. And if I'm not free or if you are not free, that's okay. But we'll still try to keep meeting. So first thing, that was our first introduction. The second thing I wanted to say was that the goal of this year, 2024, for the youth, I wanted us to think about the integrated life. By that, what I meant was that, as you know, that most of you are not working in typical Christian ministry or like church ministry or mission. That's not what your jobs are. You're working in software, you're working in science, some of you are working in education. And as you are involved in all these things, it may look like you have a church life and you have a work life. You have life and you have church. So these start becoming two separate things. But the integrated life is where both are together, where both are combined. And you may already be trying to do that. It basically means my faith is also the same as in my work. I'm able to be a follower of Jesus in the church, but I'm also able to be a follower of Jesus in my workplace. Now, you may already be doing it, but how can you do it better? Is there a way that you need help? Can we support one another in this? So that was the second introductory point. What are we going to do, at least for the first few months of this year? How can we have an integrated life? And then the third thing was, what was yesterday's point? What were we doing? And the point was, let's talk about the purpose of your life. Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? So as we start thinking about the integrated life, the first thing we think about an integrated life is, what is your purpose? Now, when we ask this question as to one another, we found that the purpose of your life is a very big question. It's not like as if I can say it right now or you can say it right now. Some of us may already know our purpose, but some of us may be not clear what it is. I shared from my own life that I somehow thought my job was my purpose. What I did for my job was my purpose in life. But then when I left my job, suddenly I didn't know what my purpose was. What am I supposed to be doing in my life if I'm not doing that job? And what I realized that my purpose must always be more than my job, more than my tasks, more than my skills, more than what we typically say your day-to-day life. Purpose is something larger that guides our life, that gives us a vision of towards where are we moving, what is the guiding principle for your life. And so that's what we saw about purpose. And I saw that even in my own life, I had to keep figuring it out. It's not like as if once I found it, that's it. And now I know my purpose. There were moments in my life where I got confused, where I wasn't sure. I had to rethink what is my purpose. So, all that to say, it's not like as if today you need to figure out your purpose, or like, yes, we figured out our purpose and now we don't need to cover that question again. It's not that. But it's a good question to keep asking. What is my purpose? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, for instance, if somebody said, I'm interested in working with children, why? So that what? Or somebody saying, I work for my software company, I'm not sure why. So you can say, yes, I want to earn money, which is a very important purpose. I want to be successful. That's also good, a good purpose to have. But what is a godly purpose? What would God want beyond just earthly money or just earthly success? Not that we should be thinking only about heaven, but the idea is that the whole world is running after money. Is that what God wants for you, to be running after money? Or is there something larger in life? Is there something more to life than just money, wealth, power, success? So that was what we said, that God may be having something more than just money for our purpose. Now, we then looked at, so what is that? What is that purpose? Can we look at the Bible and see what is purpose? So in Genesis, we can see that when God created humanity, he made them in his image, which means that God made us as representatives of him. Now, we didn't talk about this much, and actually image of God is a very important idea. Maybe we'll talk about that one Saturday. But image of God means that we represent God on earth. So our purpose is to represent God in the way we treat one another, the way we treat creation, the way we do our work. All of that is as we are representing God. And so that's one purpose in Genesis. But we also saw in Matthew 28, where those verses about the Great Commission, where after Jesus has trained his disciples for 3 years, then he says, as you're going, when you go, make disciples. And that purpose he gives to his disciples. He says, don't just be a disciple, make disciples, which means teach people to obey Jesus, to teach people to become like Jesus, teach people to be immersed in who God is. So that's a really good purpose. But I also felt that it's a bit like it can be a bit overwhelming for youngsters like you who are just trying to understand your own faith. You're still trying to understand who you are. Are you a disciple? How are you a disciple? Can you be a better disciple? If straight away, when you're trying to figure yourself out, you have to immediately start making disciples, you may not be fully confident. You may not know. You may not even want to until you're sure. So, not that to say that the Great Commission is not a good purpose. It is a very good purpose, but I find that in practical senses, not everybody finds that a good purpose for their life. They feel that there's more they need to do, more need to figure out. So then I offered another way of understanding God's purpose, and that was to use the greatest commandment, the two greatest commandments of Jesus. One was love God with all your heart, strength, mind, and soul. And the other one was love your neighbor as you love yourself. So the first purpose is to love God, to passionately love God, to experience his love, to participate in his life, to seek God, to read his word, to spend time in fellowship, to go to church, but not just that, just allow God to dwell in us and we enjoy God's presence and also live to just to be able to say to God, God, I hope my life makes you happy, like we would want our parents to be happy with what we're doing. So God, who is our parent, is happy with what we're doing. Lord, I want you to be happy with me. I want to depend on you. I want you to be my father. I want you to be my guide. I want you to be there for me. So that's the first purpose, to discover what that means, to discover what it means to love God fully. That is our purpose. That is everyone's purpose. And within that is to become like Jesus. I want to love you more and follow you in such a way that my life becomes a life that mirrors Jesus, that I act in a way that Jesus would act. I want to be like Jesus. So that would be one purpose, to love God, to become like Jesus. The other purpose is love your neighbor as yourself. And what does that mean? Love your neighbor. Who's your neighbor? So, neighbor can be your family, neighbor can be your actual neighbors, but neighbors can also be your enemies, as we see in the Bible. Neighbor is anybody who is different from you, who's outside you. And that's the challenge, to move away from selfishness, self centeredness, and move towards helping others, loving others, lifting them up, building other people, bringing God's love, and not just keeping it for myself, but bringing God's love to other people. And that is also our purpose. Our purpose is to love others with God's love in a way that helps them, to lift them up, to unburdens them, and even helps them in a way to make them better. Within, not like imposing, but in a sense that my presence is like God's presence for them, that I am like God for them, in the sense that I help them in the way that God could help them, or at least I try to, that is my prayer, to support other people. Now that is a good purpose, to move away from selfishness towards lifting other people up. And I found that these two things are good reminders about our larger purpose, to love God. When we love God, we lift ourselves. We become better. We become like Jesus. But then we don't just keep that for ourselves. We love our neighbor and we lift them up. And we want them to experience God's love. So that's love God, love neighbor becomes a good purpose. So no matter what you're doing, whether software, education, science, anything else, business, whatever you're doing, this could be a guiding purpose for your life. Now, I did say that while these are two ways of looking in the Bible, or two or three ways of looking in the Bible, what is your purpose is still a very personal thing. You still need to see, is this really God, what you want me to be doing in my life? You need to be sure that that's what's God's purpose for you. And for you to be sure, you need to ask God. That means you need to pray daily. Lord, show me my purpose. Show me what you want me to be doing. Show me why I am here. And so keep asking, earnestly asking. Don't just live a life like day to day, meaninglessly going from one point to another. Don't live like that, but live with the desire to find out what God wants for you and what God expects from you and what God wants to do for you. And that desire, eagerness to find out God's will is prayer, is to say, Lord, please show me, please help me to see you. So that is how we ended with a desire for eagerness to know the Lord and know what his purpose is for our life. What does he want us to be doing? So that's what we did last week in our youth meeting, our first youth meeting. What is your purpose? And then I said, I'm sorry I won't be meeting this Saturday, but I do have homework for you. So the homework was this. First is self-reflection. So self-reflection, you have to ask yourself 3 questions. What did I learn from this last meeting? So if you were there for the last meeting, what did I learn? Was there anything new? Was there something interesting I didn't know about? Or, hey, this was some new idea I learned, or something I learned that's good. I mean, it was interesting to know. So first, identify what you learned. The other one is go beyond what you learned to what made an impact in your life. This is almost like I felt the Lord speaking to me. Now, this is not about what Nigel said or anything. This is about what God is doing in your life, what he is speaking to you. So one is, what did I learn? These are some new ideas and new thoughts, but there's something that touched my heart. There's something that touched my life. What was that? And the third thing is, what do I feel I need to do now? Is there any action plan? Is there any task that I should do? It could be, I need to pray more clearly, or it needs to be like, or it could be like, hey, I have been actually ignoring my neighbors, or I have been a bit more selfish, or I have not been spending more time with God. I need to do this, that. So one is, what did I learn? One is, what made an impact in my life? And the third is, what is my action plan? Now, with these 3 thoughts, after you do self-reflection, the second task is to share. And this is where I asked you to talk to your designated friend. So those who were there, we paired off in twos and said, please call one another and talk about your self-reflection. Talk about what you learned, talk about what impacted you, and talk about your action plan. So I would share, and then somebody else would, or the other person would share. Now, if you weren't there and you don't have a designated person, just talk to anybody that you can, especially a person who was there who will understand. so that both of you can talk about these three things. What did I learn? What made an impact? And what should I do? Now, both of your answers could be different, but it's more about listening to one another and having an opportunity to share so that you can pray for one another. We call this peer mentoring because most of you are similar age or like approximately around the same age, but you're helping one another. You don't just need, let's say, a pastor to help you. You can help each other. So I'm asking either through WhatsApp messages or through a phone call or meeting face to face this week or before we meet next Saturday, spend time with one person to talk about purpose and talking about your integrated life. See if you can do that. I hope you can do that. Don't take this lightly. It's something that I want us to try to do more seriously. Don't just have friends. Let's have meaningful friends, meaningful relationships that push us, encourage us, help us to become better. So that's the plan. That's the homework. I hope that when we meet next Saturday, you'll be ready for that. Okay, so just a reminder, we won't be meeting this Saturday, but we will be meeting next Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Gospel Church. Okay, till then, all the best. Bye.